Welcome, everybody, and thank you so much for taking the time to join us on today's video chat. We know that a lot of you have been Zoomed to death. You've been on a whole lot of different sessions, and we decided that we take a completely different approach in this one, especially since this year we're not going to be able to do our largest and signature event, which is the Mayor's Lunch, due to, of course, the restrictions around the pandemic. But having said that, whenever there's negative issues, and certainly this pandemic is one of those, there's always a bright side to everything. And the stories that you're going to hear today from these three companies are definitely on the bright side of this, and how companies have used innovation to not only get contracts from the various governments, but also revamp themselves into selling new products, new services, and taking advantage of the opportunity that this presents. So today's event is to turn the spotlight on those companies. We do have some questions that were sent in prior to the event. If anyone online has questions during this session, you're more than welcome to send them in to us, and if time allows, we'll certainly try and answer those later on. Before I get started, I'd like to introduce or make mention of three special people who are on the call with us today. First of all, MP from Richmond Hill, MPP from Richmond Hill, Daisy Way, welcome to our meeting. The chairman of the board of the Board of Trade, Chris Colucci. From the city of Markham, Arvind Prasad, who's the Commissioner of Development Services, and Karen Ng, who's the manager of ACCE, which is a very large business association that partners with us in a lot of events in the city of Markham. So what I will do is introduce our panel, and then of course our moderator today. Our three panelists, first of all from Vexos, we have Wayne Hawkins, who's the Senior Vice President, General Manager, Cyril Fernandez, who is the Senior Vice President of Business Development. From 4S Consulting, we have Sobi Raghunathan, partner, and I hope I pronounced your name correctly, Sobi. And from ICON, we have the Chief Financial Officer, Alex Christopoulos. Moderating for us today, I think everyone knows this gentleman. He's the Mayor of Markham. This is his fourth term on council. For over 31 years, he served on council, and half of that time as deputy and as mayor. He's currently the chair of the York Region Rapid Transit. And as we all know, Frank's been a real proponent for the extension of the Yonge Street subway line and for a number of other transit situations and developments, and has led the charge on early tax relief, both for business and for consumers in Markham. Markham has been a leader in that area in the GTA. So I'm going to turn things over to Frank, and we'll hear about these great stories.
Super, thank you. Thank you very much, Richard, and good morning to everyone. Great to see those that we can see, and those that are hiding. We understand in about another half hour, you'll be out of your pajamas and you'll be able to share your video for the rest I'm just kidding. But anyways, welcome to everyone, and really great to be able to just take some time as you have with other sessions. And I want to say thank you to you, Richard, and everyone at the Markham Board of Trade, to Chris Colucci, the chair, and the board of directors for hosting these sessions, keeping us connected, and certainly providing a lot of information, particularly in the early days when there seemed to be an announcement coming out of Ottawa and Queen's Park almost on the hour. And it was tough to sort of stay on top of everything that was happening. So your sessions, I know, have been quite helpful to the members of the business community. So thank you for taking the time to host. I wanted just to, and maybe get her just to say hello so her microphone comes on, Christina Kakaflikas, so that those of you that are on active speaker mode not only see a wave, but just hear from her and she's our acting director of economic development. And I want to say thank you to her, and I won't introduce, I know a couple of other members of her team are here as well, but really to thank her and to thank her team and really all the staff at the City of Markham, we have been able to deal with not only the crisis of the pandemic, but like many organizations had to make a switch with people working from home, put in place whole new protocols. And I'm very happy to say, and I know many in the community, business people can celebrate this as well, is that that transition really helped happen without a blip. We're still meeting, we're still providing services, we're still providing building permits and approvals and the types of things that the business community rely on. So Christina, maybe just say a quick hello so those that are on active speaker mode will not have to search for you in the screens.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Hello, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning. Thanks to staff and Wynn in particular for all her leadership working with the Markham Board of Trade. And just wanted to reiterate, we are in business. We have been through this whole transition, and if there is any support that we can provide, businesses on the line, we're happy to do so. Please feel free to contact our office. Thank you.
Thanks, Christina. And as Richard mentioned, I can tell you, I personally missed the mayor's address, not to hear myself speak, but actually just the networking and the connection to the community. I really missed that this June, but fair to say that we've, we're reaching out in various ways. Now, typically, those of you that have been to that event, you'll know that we usually have the TV big green chairs where we bring out special guests and kind of hear an update. And so this year we may have needed a couch, I think, not just a chair, just to kind of hear the trials and tribulations of what people have had to go through. But nonetheless, we have an opportunity this morning to hear three stories, three actually of many in our community where I would say businesses have risen to the occasion and to the challenge that the pandemic has provided, and transformed literally some of their business units to be able to meet the needs of what the pandemic has caused. So I just want to quickly run through, just to give the business community a quick update. I think all of you know that last Friday, a fair bit of excitement throughout the city of Markham and certainly throughout York Region as we opened up with stage 2. And I again want to say thank you to all of the small businesses in our community who had to adjust and to again put in protocols, train staff, and they are very much in line with what I have said and the council has said, and certainly others, that we want obviously the economy to continue to open up, but that public safety is an absolute priority. And so I say thanks to all of those that have made that possible. And I know some businesses didn't quite open up on Friday or the weekend because they weren't quite ready. And again, as business owners, I just want to thank them for being thoughtful, not only of their own staff, but the customers and the community that they serve. A hand really needs to be acknowledged to the whole community for the incredible effort everyone has made in adhering to the restrictions that we have had to live with over the last several months. Now, I think there's a lot that goes into this accomplishment, but certainly it's the people and the businesses together who've contributed to the fact that Markham has had one of the lowest percentage of community spread among the large municipalities in York Region, certainly compared to the city of Toronto, and certainly compared to the provincial average. And that is really in large part because everyone followed the rules, and I have to say as well, our very early decision, we were one of the first major municipalities to shut down our community centers, again, put in stringent protocols, a very robust education program that still continues to this day, because I think it's important when you're dealing with a new regime that sort of the rules of the game get ingrained into our everyday life so that we don't let our guard down. And I won't spend a lot of time, but you certainly know there's been all kinds of measures federally and provincially to help businesses, everything from the Canada Emergency Response benefit to the wage subsidy program, and certainly some of the relief for landlords and for tenants. And I just say, I know that when these programs get announced, they certainly have appeal, and it goes without saying, sometimes it's not easy to get through the maze to actually get the level of support that's needed. And I know in some cases, the programs have kind of run contrary to getting people back to work. So listen, for all the bumps and everything that perhaps those programs, I would just say this, a big thank you to both senior levels of government, because really in earnest, they've tried to do what they could to help businesses, to help individuals bridge the circumstances that they're in, recognizing that these efforts are never perfect. But I'll tell you something, I think it's been a wonderful example of how all three levels of government have worked together. And in case you haven't heard by now, at the local level, and it's sometimes difficult for people to say, understand why municipalities can't do more. I would just say this, from our perspective, we have nowhere near the latitude, the flexibility, the potential for other revenue sources. Primarily our revenue source to make everything happen that we do in the city of Markham and the region of York comes from property taxes, and that's it. And other than fees for some of our programs, which obviously we're not getting right now because our community centers are closed. And then we just introduced a MAT tax, a municipal accommodation tax, and I'll speak to that in a second, just last year to help attract tourists and overnight stay to our community. And so when we tried to think of what we could do, there were two things. One, to try and provide immediate relief for those individuals and for those businesses that couldn't get the support from the other levels of government. And to also do something that really set a runway right to the end of the year. I really asked our council to take these initiatives back in March, because I didn't want us to be the government that would come out, 1 week saying one thing, another week saying something else. First of all, it's tough to get the information out to begin with and for people to understand it. So we just took that bold step and we said, all of the late payment fees for anyone that can't pay their property taxes will be waived until December 31st. So it gives you that runway and a chance to recover for those that need it. We also eliminated the stormwater fee, and per household it works out to over $50. But actually waiving the stormwater fee helps businesses considerably because it's not a flat fee. It's based on the assessment, the value of your property. And so the greater the value, the more you were paying towards the flood protection program, which we do need. It's a 30-year program, but we waived that fee for this year. And then also there was supposed to be an increase in the water rate back in April, and that was also deferred for this year. So there was no increase in the water rate. And we are a shareholder of Electra, which is the electric distribution company for Markham and most of York region. And actually through the mergers that happened, we're now, probably the second largest in North America municipal electrical distribution company. But as a shareholder, we worked with the province through Electra to also get the electricity rates to be reduced to provide some relief. I know today we're talking about organizations and how you've transformed. I would just say, as the city of Markham always does, we embrace technology to better serve our customers. And the reason, by the way, that we're not only highlighting the success this morning of our three companies, among others, is their success, but also we are celebrating Innovation Month in the city of Markham. And so innovation takes various forms. It's not always about technology, but it's certainly about leveraging the skill set and expertise and being able to enhance quality of life and obviously produce goods and services that provide a greater level of service or certainly increases the capacity of our economy. So on the innovation side, I think our record, back in 2018, we had the 5th election using internet voting, no paper ballots. And I just state that as an example of some of the things that we've done. But in response to COVID-19, we're the first Canadian municipality in all of Canada to use the IBM Watson technology for citizens. So we have now a virtual agent on our website that you can, as soon as the website pops up, you'll see the symbol for the virtual agent, and you can ask whatever questions you want to ask about COVID-19 or any of our services. And also, if you don't have access to a device, you certainly can also call in and over the phone and ask the virtual agent any question as well. And then the other thing we did, again, to help small businesses, the Shop Here program, which was introduced through all of the BIAs in the City of Toronto, the Business Improvement Associations, in collaboration with the City of Toronto. It had been in existence, and thanks to Shopify and Google and Facebook and eBay, that program a few weeks ago was taken nationally. And again, with the support of the federal government and some of the funding that was received to support that program. Now we loved it on a couple of different fronts. It provides small businesses the opportunity to increase or develop their online presence. They get free services. Also, it'll be students from the Schulich School of Business, and the City of Markham has a great relationship with York University, so it was a great fit from that perspective. So any business that's looking to introduce their online presence or get some further support, please contact Christina. Those services are available. And one last thing, we have, as I told you, a municipal accommodation tax, which, by the way, we eliminated for this year, recognizing the hotel industry was very hard hit with the pandemic. So they certainly have relief. But just about a week and a half ago, no later than that, we had an opportunity to apply to a grant to help develop some strategies to assist businesses in our community. And so I'm very pleased to say, thanks to the work of Christina and her team, through Destination Markham, we did apply and just got word that we received $470,000 to help. And the program is the Regional Relief and Recovery Fund. It's managed and supported by FedDev Ontario. And the grant was given to us by the Tourism Industry Association of Ontario. And so this money now will be for three things. In a general way, provide assistance to businesses, and really we'll be looking at opportunities that provide sort of the greatest help to the greatest number of businesses. It won't be, individual checks that we're going to be handing out. It's a way of supporting various industries within our community. Consumer education, there's no doubt for all the efforts that we're making to ensure that places of retail and restaurants are safe. We have an issue with consumer confidence, and we will have for some time. And so consumer education, really helping them know how to navigate and take the precautions, how to support local businesses, that will all be a part of that. And also to develop a local marketing campaign. So with that, I just say thank you to each of the small businesses. We have over 10,000 small businesses in our community. and 98% of them have less than 100 employees. So while I continue to boast that we're the second largest IT hub in all of Canada, and we are, well, we have hundreds of headquarters of multinational corporations. The fact is, in some respects, we're no different than other communities in that the bread and butter, I'll say, of our community is the small and medium enterprises that provide the employment and pay the taxes, and to be honest with you, support our community in various ways. And you've done it throughout the pandemic with your wonderful generosity of masks and meals for our healthcare workers. So that generosity has been evident in all of this. And I guess one last final note, although we only have a certain amount of powers, we've acted as quickly and as nimble as we've been able to do. We approved a change to our zoning bylaw, Richard, that will allow the expansion of outdoor patios. You don't have to apply for rezoning or a site plan. We've waived all the associated fees, and so the expansion about those outdoor patios will be a lot easier. And we strongly advocated, which it did happen, the provincial government and the Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario to relax their rules, which they did, because it was onerous for owners to apply for the extension of their licenses if they wanted to expand their outdoor patios.
That's great.
And so, yeah, very good news. And I'll tell you, particularly now, because the government has decided only to allow the outdoor patios as part of the restaurant reopenings. It's even more critical now than we even thought initially. We thought, there'll be maybe a certain percentage allowed indoors, and then they can make up for it outdoors. Well, it turns out it's the outdoor activity that's going to be their support for the next little while. So we're here about inspiration, and we're here about the wonderful successes that we have in our community. And so it's a great time to really start to talk to our special guests. And first of all, I'd like to introduce from Vexos, Wayne Hawkins. And again, if you could turn on your microphone. I know everyone's waving, but I just turn on your microphone because I want you to say a quick hello so people can see where you are in the screens.
So hello, it's Wayne Hawkins here from Vexos. And of course, I'm here with Cyril. I'm sure you're going to introduce Cyril as well, Frank.
We are, absolutely. No, I just wanted to get your screen activated for those that have it on that mode so they could see you. So, and Cyril Fernandez, who's the Senior VP Business Development at Vexos. And thank you to the both of you for taking time out to be here this morning, because as much as I know you're very proud of the success that you've had, it also means that you're very busy right now dealing with all of that success, which is, I guess, a wonderful problem to have. But just to give you a quick intro, Vexos Global Electronics Manufacturing Services is a provider that has signed an agreement with the Government of Canada to manufacture 10,000 mechanical ventilators, Milano, and that's 10,000 units, which will be used throughout Canada to combat the COVID-19 pandemic. And certainly they can talk about their success, but we all know success does not come easy. So if you can maybe talk a little bit about the obstacles that you faced, the support that you had along the way, and also try to tell us, the timelines of trying to secure such an important contract, and really what you had to do in this opportunity to retool your facilities to really make a product that you had never even contemplated before. So I'm going to hand it over to you, and perhaps afterwards we're just to do a little bit of a rapid round if you haven't covered it already. But what's the one piece of advice you would share to other companies? And also, what are some of the challenges that you faced over the last few weeks and months? And an important part, and I think, well, I know part of this answer, but might be obvious as you tell your story, but will you continue to manufacture the product for the foreseeable future? So talk about your experience, and again, congratulations. We're proud of this local Markham company being able to be such an important part of the healthcare system and helping people get better.
So I'll kick it off really quickly for Vexos, Mayor Frank. Thank you very much, and I'll hand it over to Cyril. He'll walk us through kind of the storyline. But really, just very quick advice to everybody on the call. To be successful in these kind of challenging times, it comes down to collaboration, relationships, and partnerships with multiple entities, and it includes exactly the government, the municipal government, partnerships with suppliers, and of course a team within your own organization and people to make things very successful, to create that environment for success. So of course that's kind of sounds like fundamental stuff, but is real in the environment we're in with the pandemic. There's a lot of companies that are challenged, but the collaboration, partnership, willing to work with each other makes things happen a lot faster than environments where you're debating contracts and negotiating and stickling over little things. The speed and the environment we're in, it's collaboration, trust, and partnerships, and that really yields a much more positive outcome and a quicker outcome to thrive in an environment we're all in, which is quite challenging. So with that, it's just quick advice, foundational as that may sound, it's real. And I'm just going to hand it over to Cyril to kind of walk through kind of the storyline of what became something and will become something very good for Vexos and Markham and the community. So just on that, Cyril, go ahead. Just with the
And Cyril, maybe just tell us a little bit about what you normally do and how you changed over to this new product line.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Mayor Frank, and thank you, Wayne. I really appreciate that. I think that's a really good, sort of cornerstone in terms of why we're talking today to the team out there virtually and what we're doing. I think in terms of the three elements that you talked about, what steps were taken, the engagement process to get the contract, the time frames, what were the challenges with the time frames, and now the challenges now that we've got, what are the challenges that we have in terms of our facility and our structure to accommodate and build this product. And then last but not least, what does the future hold, once we're past to delivering this order? And it's actually quite interesting. So, I'm gonna take you back to the beginning. I remember this very clearly because it was March the 18th, that, the sky's falling, everything's coming down, the state of emergency or virtual state of emergency was in place. And we knew as an organization that we needed to do something about it. Because, the business that we're in, our primary business is electronic contract manufacturing. So we work with our customers who are the customers that sell out into the market. If their markets are shrinking or getting eliminated, we get affected. So we had to, we foresaw that once this started to hit us in around the February-March timeframe. So Wayne and I remember it was a weekend. Wayne and I were talking on a Saturday, and we said, you know what? Let's just go to it. What do we need to do to keep our business going? Number one, but as a parallel priority, what can we do to support the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic? It was a very, very simple ask. So I said, let's start engaging with organizations from a commercial perspective and from an institutional perspective. So, at the time, the governments were putting out calls for, if you can help with the fight against COVID-19, the PPE, you can do instrumentation, please sign up. So literally, we signed up everywhere. at all levels of the government, municipal, provincial, and federal. And what was actually quite amazing was at each level of government, we got a response within 24 to 48 hours. And I thought that that was quite interesting because there's this old cliche out there about governments being unresponsive, you know, it's going to take days. And that's a thread that's a thread that runs through the story that we are where we are today. The government entities we work with have been fantastic in terms of speed of communication, collaboration, et cetera. And I'm glad to say that. You know, maybe it's a Canadian thing. I hope it's not, but I truly believe that we as a country kind of came of age in a little way through this thing because we got to see what people did when the rubber hits the road, and that's what we were faced with. So, as I said, we engaged with all of the governments, and we got the formal responses, which was okay. Please provide information. We were assessed independently by the Government of Canada for our capabilities as a manufacturer, and there's particular standards that they validate us against, and we passed that. In parallel, you know, besides the institutional piece, we started to engage with our network of contacts. Being in the business that we are, we have a pretty extensive list of contacts, both nationally and internationally. And we're able to engage with our partner in Italy called Elemaster, who were working with this group comprised of, believe it or not, Nobel Prize winning physicists engaged in global argon dark matter research. The furthest thing away from the ventilator. But one of the key members of that group was stuck in Italy in the epicenter, in Bergamo, in the epicenter of the crisis. And he decided he's gonna speak to his team globally, and they're gonna take a design that was available 20, 30 years ago, come up with a simple ventilator. You can use off-the-shelf products and start going down the path. We engaged with them, and we worked in parallel with the international teams in Italy, Canada, and the US to achieve our first milestone, which was FDA approval, which took place around 30 days from the inception of the project, which was on March the 23rd. At that point in time, it was a parallel path towards our negotiations with the government of Canada. The FDA approval was a very big milestone, and then we at that time were down the path of engaging with the government. I'm glad to say that, you know, post the contract with respect to that, we're in the final stages of Health Canada approval, and we are proceeding down that path, and we expect to start delivering product around July. The one thing about this, the engagement process, was this was a 7-day-a-week effort. If there was something that I would say, you know, at the time I remember the stories, and I thought it was really interesting that all levels of government were saying, you know, we are Canada, this is Team Canada, we're in a quote-unquote wartime situation where we need to attack it like that. And I have to say that paralleled the efforts. We literally were working 7 days a week. Some days it was, you know, on the weekends, maybe 6 to 8 hours, sometimes even 12 to 15 hours. There were times when Wayne and I were Zooming back and forth through an entire 8-week span to get to the point where we are today. And I think to a certain extent it's continuing. The pressure isn't off. We need to deliver. There's, you know, I think we have it, knock on wood, very well controlled in Canada, but we all know the stories about down south. We know what's happening in Latin America and starting to see little pieces of information come from other areas. So we know we're not past this, and this is not over. So we're focused on that. From the time frames to secure the contract, our first discussions with the government of Canada was around the end of March, the beginning of April. Our first major milestone was a letter of intent that we got around middle of April. And that's when we went into very serious discussions and negotiations about the contract. We received a contract May the 22nd. So it took about 45 days from the letter of intent to the contract, which is extremely fast. You know, for an order of this size, we had to get into a series of discussions around the technical side, and then moved into the business side. The technical side, I would say, comprised about 70% of the timeline, and the business side comprised about 30%. But the speed, you know, I talked about 35 to 45 days for the contract was incredible, and it was just a very tangible manifestation of sort of the collaborative nature of all levels of organizations from an institutional and from a private perspective to enable us to get to that. The government was extremely supportive and engaged in the process, and they continue to be post-contract. It's a real pleasure to work with them. And again, I'm going to reiterate that message I gave at the beginning, which was responsiveness and communications have been terrific, and really blow away sort of the cliche out there about governments reacting slowly. In this case, I'm pretty proud to say, you know, I have a lot of friends in the U.S., a lot of friends in Europe, that our Canadian government and our Canadian at all levels have helped us tremendously. And it's interesting because, you know, my friends in the UK and my friends in the US maybe don't have a similar perspective, but I'm proud to say that. So that was the process. In terms of the challenges we had to overcome in sort of getting the facilities ready, the first big challenge was we had to make sure that we had a proper program in place to prevent. We were deemed an essential business because some of the customers that we have are involved in the medical electronics space, building product for X-ray machines and pretty critical devices. So we were able to remain open. But you know, remaining open is one thing. Continuing to remain open in this time and ensuring that we have the proper distancing prevention policies to ensure continuity of operations is extremely important. And we put in a very, very strong program. In fact, you know, I think one of the key things was around March, around the middle of March, around that same time frame. It was interesting because, you know, we have a very multicultural workforce. And around that time, quite a few of our workforce actually go into Asia and go to China because it was Chinese New Year and they were coming back. And so one thing that we did is that we started to enforce policies of if you are coming into work and you have been out of the country on vacation, and then we extended it to really out of the province, you were immediately put on 14 days. And there were reporting processes that they had to follow in order to allow them to come back into work. We redid and retooled our facility from a distancing perspective, changed some HR policies around, you know, real fundamental things like lunch breaks, et cetera, rearranged schedules so groups of people basically stuck to each other. And sort of if there was any issue or anybody tested positive, we were able to contain it and still continue as a life. So that's one thing that we did, and I think we've done that very well. I think from a skill set and an infrastructure perspective, we have the skills and we have the infrastructure. Augmenting our labor pool, we anticipated may be difficult, but it hasn't been a challenge. And I think, you know, honestly, with the way the economy is rolling and the way the unemployment rate is, there are a lot of good people out there. And so the timing of our search for individuals to join the company came at a pretty good time, and I'm pretty sure that you know, that contributed to the ease of getting that. We've increased our labor pool by about 15%. So we're bringing on board more folks. From a challenge perspective, I think the supply chain, as everybody knows, you know, ventilators have gone from being, you know, I go back to February, March, you know, I think I knew what a ventilator was. I know a lot more now. It's not only become a very technical issue, but it's become a very extremely political issue. We're finding that out in dealing with our international supply chain, because everybody and their brother are trying to build ventilators, and there are certain components and certain elements of the ventilator that are pretty well common to any ventilator that's built. And you know, we've had to get past companies, private organizations telling us we're not able to send this to you because our government has said that this is mandated as an essential item and restricted for import. We've gotten past that through our international partners. We are dealing with basically capacity issues from international partners, from our suppliers through our international partners. We're making some in-game changes and moving some production back into Canada. We're working with we partnered up with a company in London, Ontario to help and assist us, and they've been fantastic, a company called GMP Solutions. And through all of this, that is probably our biggest challenge. That's a moving target every day. So we have a meeting every day. What is the challenge today on supply chain? And we just get to it. Critical success factor, and Wayne talked about collaborations, partnership, teamwork, creating an environment for success, is a laser focus. So there is what I call, it's almost a wartime team that we have in place to attack any issues. And we use the Eisenhower matrix. I'm sure you guys have heard about that, where, if it's urgent and important, you do it right now. If it's urgent, if it's not urgent but it's important, you schedule it. If it's not urgent and not important, you avoid it. And so there's an entire, it's a four-square thing, and we tend to follow that. And it's enabled us to get us to the point where we are. We're not past it, but we are going to start delivering product in July. And then the last piece, Mayor Scarpitti, that you talked about is what is going to be like once we deliver. We are getting inquiries, and we are getting opportunities internationally. The story of how this product evolved from a collaboration of really brilliant people to a product in weeks and in months as opposed to years has struck a nerve. It is specifically designed to address the very specific issues with COVID-19 patients that require a ventilator, and it's focused on that. And it's from a pricing perspective, it's competitive. And so those factors contribute it to being a very attractive product. So we are having discussions with organizations and entities from the Americas, and we actually are getting them worldwide. But with our partner in Italy, we're looking to see how much we can satisfy the population. We are assigning a portion of our production for charitable needs. There are organizations out there that are requesting it that frankly can't afford it. So it's part of our agreement that we will set aside some production for charitable needs, and we are actively engaged in that. So that's kind of the story on this. I hope that gave a flavor.
No, absolutely an amazing story, and I just want to say thank you for your tenacity. It's not easy trying to move as quickly, but to just keep going, and as much as you had the strong support, that was wonderful to hear. We know that even with that, it's not an easy process to get through, and even to get the FDA approval in the timelines that you did. And I would just say when the province of Ontario issued their potential projections for what was going to happen in April and May, obviously they avoided the doomsday scenario by implementing the restrictions. One of the things that I honed in on, and I think I told you this about a week ago or so, was the fact of the lack of capacity with ventilators and ICU units across certainly the province of Ontario. And I think the medical profession really sees this as the lifeline in terms of the piece of equipment, not only because of the potential of the increase in numbers, but as we've heard and seen that, typically in an ICU situation, maybe you're on a ventilator for a week or two. There's people that now are on ventilators for 4 or 5, 6 weeks at a time, like one continuous time. So again, it's a vital piece of equipment in the front lines of making sure people survive. And so this is a very proud moment, I will say, for the city of Markham to have a company like yours doing what you're doing and playing such an important role in the fight against COVID-19. And it was a particular worry of mine at the time, and to hear a Markham company being a part of the solution to increase the capacity. And as I said, it's not just about the numbers, but it's the length of time that patients are relying on this equipment. So congratulations to the entire team, and again, for the steps that you took to ensure that the safety of your employees. It's actions like that, again, that I believe contributed to the overall success of the community. So there may be some other questions. We hope to have time to actually open up the floor later. So you may have others that come your way, but thank you for not only telling the story, but asking sort of the three areas that most of the registrants wanted answered from all of our panelists this morning. So next we're going to move on to another great story here in the city of Markham, and I'd like to introduce Sobi Raghunathan, compliance partner at 4S Consulting. And Sobi, if you could also just say a quick hello while I'm giving you an introduction so that anyone on active mode, go ahead, just say.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for inviting us today, and looking forward to sharing our story.
Very good, thank you. And I wanted people to see where you were on the screen there while we're talking about you. So the team at 4S Consulting and their designs quickly leverage their technology to help other businesses address COVID-19. They developed complementary online COVID-19 training modules that focus on keeping our workplaces safe. And they're going to share their experience again about adapting and rolling out health and safety platform for industry workers during the pandemic, and certainly into the recovery stage. There's certainly a lot more to do because we've been dealing with our own workspaces wherever they might be. But as more businesses open up and the economy opens up, your services are certainly going to be required by many businesses to ensure their organizations stay healthy, stay safe, and have put in place all the proper measures. So again, while you tell your story, Sobi, again, if you could tell sort of a piece of advice that you would have for others in having to adapt so quickly, some of the challenges your business faced. It's quite different from producing a product, but an important element again in the recovery of COVID-19, and where you see sort of this aspect of the business evolving, either with COVID or potential other challenges in the future.
Thank you, Mayor Scarpitti. It's a great pleasure to share our story. We have a growing business in Markham with about 45 plus staff. When March 18th hit, we started preparing, being in the health and safety field. We were prompt and we were looking out for it. So we had all kind of arrangements done to deploy workers to work from home with the VPN access. So even before the 18th, we started working on it. So when the 18th happened, pretty much all of our 40-odd plus staff were able to work from home. Which was a great thing. So we didn't have any interruption in serving our clients. We continued to serve our clients. Some of the challenges that we faced is a lot of clients went into panic mode, and a lot of businesses started going, okay, we need to stop all kind of non-essential services to sustain. So we had a lot of clients who were on a monthly payment terms, who were trying to pause and withdraw. So that was setting up a lot of uncertainty. But one thing that we did as a management team is we said, despite all this, we are going to do the level best we can to sustain all of our employees, as well as continue to support, because health and safety is a very essential piece of the puzzle when we talk about the pandemic. We could go into lockdown mode and stay at home, but the reality is we all need to come back to work. When we come back to work, we do need to have proper protocols in place so that we can minimize the workplace transmission from possible exposures. So we started quickly, as majority of our team members were focusing on supporting our existing clients and providing them with support. We started focusing on coming up with COVID solutions. Some of the challenges, and also one piece of advice I would give it to all the businesses: when things like this happen, all of us are in it together. This is not a time to think about, what is the opportunity, how can I make money? It's about how we can quickly enable solutions and get out there and support our community. We live in such a beautiful country, just like our friends who shared previously. From a federal level to provincial level to municipal level, the support that we were getting was awesome. I was part of the calls with the Prevention Office, Ministry of Labor, Training and Skills Development, federal small business. So the amount of action and the attention and the support we were getting, the way how they were prompt and responding to emails, inquiries, it was amazing. So proud to be part of such a wonderful country that we do care about each and every one of our citizens and the people who reside here. So this is our time to come up with solutions quickly to enable. It's not about time to think about how much profit can we make from this. So one of the things that we did is we want to bring on consistent awareness training for the work front. There were many bulletins, many information on COVID that was available, but it's something that have to be organized, structured, that everybody in the workplace is getting the same message. Being a health and safety company, we do consulting, we do training, mandatory trainings, approved trainings, as well as awareness training. And a big component is system support. So we integrate health and safety into technology. That health and safety have to be part of an organization's culture. It's not just by having manuals or taking training, it has to be embedded as part of the organizational culture. So one of our focus and vision and mission is to make sure workplaces adapt health and safety as part of their culture. So we always enable it with technology. Our innovation is always about coming up with solutions so that safety compliance can be made easy to keep their health and safety program alive. So one of the things we did, because we had the platform for online training and tracking and inspections and investigations, we focused on two things. One is awareness, which is e-learning modules. The second one was on contact tracing. I know there was many apps and devices based for contact tracing, but from a workplace standpoint, and again from a workplace transmission perspective, we quickly came up with a solution for contact tracing. So every morning or every shift when the workers report to work, they're doing a check-in. So it can be done by locations, it can be done by departments, depends on how big the organization is, the number of locations you have, number of departments you have. They're doing a daily check-in by asking the 5 crucial questions. If somebody says yes, it's going to map who else they have been in contact within that organization. And it prompts and alerts the coordinators to take prompt attention and action so that they can either advise them to go into self-isolation or any other precautionary measures that they need to do. So that was one of the things our technology team was able to enable, and we focused on developing e-learning modules. Again, our intention, just like meals for healthcare workers, we want to give knowledge and awareness training to businesses. We started with Ontario businesses, extended out to Canadian businesses, but we came out with so far 7 e-learning modules, and each one of them are about 20 to half an hour long, 30 minutes long. It's e-learning. They could, listen to it. There are some pictures and animations that explains the concepts. It talks about employers' responsibility, employees' responsibility. If you are working in a construction site, what you need to do. If you are a service technician, what you need to do. If you are in an industrial setting, what you need to do. If you are in a main office or administrative offices, what you need to do. So we broke them into small pieces and segments into 20 minutes. It took a lot of effort. One of the other challenges we faced is childcare was a major issue for a lot of people working from home. So we had some of our key staff members who were involved in coming up with the training materials and training development, and we had to work at all kind of hours. Sometimes we would start at 8:30 at night and go until about 5 o'clock in the morning. And those were some of the challenges we had. Despite the challenges, everybody was committed, and we are giving these training as complimentary. We came up with a solution for our clients, but our intention is, again, just like Meal for Healthcare Workers, this is knowledge for all the Canadian workplaces. We want to serve our community first. So we came up with these modules and enabled these modules to everyone. Working with the prevention office and being part of many different associations, being a health and safety professional, we came up with a lot of information and knowledges. And one of the things that we were fortunate with the MLTSD, which is the Ministry of Labor, Training and Skills Development, is they actually picked 4 providers who were considered decent size with online technology. And we are being awarded, we are in the final stages of being awarded to serve for newcomers and job seekers health and safety training. So government is going to be giving them the funding, and there are 400 plus agencies like the Accesses of the world and Coasties, where people are going for job seeking. They can actually choose from one of the 4 providers to take online training modules on health and safety, and the government is paying for this. So that is one of the contracts that we were awarded with as part of some of the solutions that we have been working. But yeah, it's interesting times, but health and safety is in the forefront. We are constantly giving advices and doing webinars, informing businesses, especially you mentioned, Mayor, that there are 10,000 plus businesses in Markham. Majority of them do not have a good health and safety program because they're not too sure what they need to do. Financially, they are constrained, especially in times like this. So that's why the enabling the modules was very crucial. One of the things that we have been looking at doing, which is one of our intention, is to enable this training available in many different languages. So Mandarin, Punjabi, Tamil, French, all these, and we are looking for resources and support for that. I'm sure we'll get the needed resource, but currently it's available in English. And our intention is every workplace, please take advantage of this. It's a self-registration site. The employers can come in, register their company, will generate an employer code, and they could ask their employees to use that code to go register their first name, last name, and use that code. Then they could start tracking if they have 100 employees, how many, who has taken the training, what's going on. So it's consistent information. At the same time, the employer has control to monitor it. So again, it's a complementary service that we are giving. That is our contribution to flatten the curve even a little bit, but at the same time, focusing on workplace transmission control, minimize that. When we talk about hierarchy of controls, you need to control the hazard at the source, along the path, and at the worker. PPE tend to be focused on the last resort, which is at the worker. What we are trying to do is, we can't control it at the source, but from administrative controls, from coming up with policies, sample templates for policies and procedures, messaging, training, and contact tracing are all the administrative controls that the businesses really need to implement so that they can minimize the contact going forward, because this is the new reality that we are going to be living with. We can't be staying locked up in the houses anymore. We do need to return back to work, but how are we going to be safe in the workplace is a very crucial piece.
You've said it well, and again, I'm so proud that there's a Markham company that obviously is helping organizations, but it is part of that collective effort to ensure that we we mitigate, minimize the spread of COVID-19. And we all know there's many places in our community centers, we closed them right off the bat because we knew the people, the concentration. In workplaces, we have those similar situations. But as you said, you know, for this to be sustainable going forward, we're going to have to ensure that our workplaces are safe and that they can function and that they're productive and that they're contributing to the economy. And it's a vital piece. It really is, because at the end of the day, the last thing we do want to see is where businesses are opening up and get that false start because they're impacted due to the fact that they didn't take enough of the measures to ensure there wasn't any spread or outbreak at their particular place. So in terms of your national presence then, sort of give us a flavor, maybe for the types of companies that you're serving, and then geographically how that's looking for you.
So we do have Fortune 500 companies as our clients. Some of them have over 1,400 locations across the country where they actually take all of their health and safety related training. They can do the site inspections, location inspections, accidents, incidents. So they could manage the entire health and safety program for multiple locations, utilizing our ForSafe Calm, that is the software that we use, which is again FOREST owned software that we created for our clients, and specifically for Canadian businesses, and it caters to various different provinces across the country. We do have retail clients, we have manufacturing clients, we have construction clients, we have seasonal workers, the painters and the student painters. So every season, they get put into the system, they take the training, and then they start working. And then as they are working on a day-to-day basis, they would use the platform using mobile devices to do daily check-ins and inspections. So COVID training, again, for all of our clients across the country was enabled very quickly. We started coming up with each of the modules. The first one came out in April. So every 2 weeks we were adding new modules. As new modules were added, and the respective businesses started taking advantage of it. So it brought in awareness to them, at least in a consistent manner. So they were able to communicate the do's and don'ts and what to do. We created one particular one on sanitation. So a lot of people, when you talk about sanitation, you know, it's infection control. But sometimes we don't click in and pay attention. You know, how often do we need to actually wipe down on the common things like door handles, knobs, you know, common areas and surfaces as we have people that we bring back to work. Sanitation is a big piece of the puzzle. This is something that we never really worried about in the past, but something that we do need to factor in now as we are bringing people back to work. You know, we may have office cleaning services once a day or a couple of times a week, whatever it is. But now with the new norm, we may have to do it a few times during the day. So we started actually having in-class training sessions for health and safety. And one of the things that we were able to do is we were able to do physical distancing based on the size that we had, the training room that we had. We were accommodating only X number of people to come for those sessions. So before they came in, we did the screening. We had the PPEs given to them. So whatever we were doing, they were safe while they were in our premises. So it is a new norm. We are going to a completely different way of doing business. But awareness is a very key piece. And that being said, so Markham has been amazing. Some of our associations have been amazing in supporting taking the message out about the free training, because the free training is available. It is complimentary. Company needs to know about it so they can take advantage. And openingmarkham.com is actually have that link for the free training. I would want pretty much all the 10,000 plus businesses to take advantage of it. It's good knowledge, and make sure all your employees are aware of it so you could track it as well.
Sobi, thank you, and thank you to your team for burning the midnight oil. It's been amazing for me to watch businesses, community organizations, and volunteers of everyone just no questions asked, just stepping up and doing what needs to get done. And so we're slowly becoming the one-stop shop here in the city of Markham for different strategies to fight COVID-19. So it's a good segue to our next success story. When we talk about shopping, I want to introduce Alex Christopoulos. And Alex, if you could just say hello so your square comes on and people can see where you are.
Hi there. Thanks for having me join this wonderful group of talented businesses. Thanks, Mayor.
Well, great to have you as part of our community, and truly under Alex's financial and thought leadership, Icon has grown into an industry leader. We're very proud to have you here as part of the print and digital media solutions industry. So Alex will certainly tell us about the demands that their clients have had, and how they've had to switch what they've been doing to produce very important PPE, obviously for customers and retailers and their own staff. And again, some advice, some challenges that you face, and where do you see some of your product lines going into the future?
Absolutely. Thanks, Mayor, again for having us on. It's obviously it's tough to go last after two great success stories. I mean, you gotta put me on the spot here. I mean, I would love to go first, but great on Vexos and 4S Consulting for doing what they're doing to really be leaders, in this whole fight against COVID, as well as leaders representing Markham really well. So good on you guys. Little quick, 4S Consulting, Sobi has done a lot of work for Icon. She's certified us, so thank you, Sobi, and for all the great work that you do as well. And also really a shout out to you, Mayor, for really showing your leadership during this time of COVID and where Markham has gone and how we are really looked upon on a global stage of what we have done to fight and combat COVID, being one of the largest municipalities with the lowest infection rate. So good on you, Mayor, for really doing a great job here in Markham. Good on Mr. Cunningham. Me and Richard Cunningham go back a while back. We're a big support of his gala, and he always says a little shout out to Icon on the stage where, all those boards you see at Dundas Square or on the Gardner, it's kind of like our Times Square, is actually run out of Markham. It's actually run out of our facility here in Markham. So Richard always throws that as a little segue.
I love telling that story.
It's so that's great. So quickly, we have two distinct divisions here at Icon. One is printing, graphics, and POP division, as well as one is our digital signage division. Our main clientele is all across North America as well as the world, is retail, luxury brands, sports marketing, airports. So you've probably seen our work in malls and airports. Any kind of graphics on windows, on walls, on floors is pretty much done here in Markham. We have about 130,000 square feet of space here in Markham, and we're proud to be Markham. I've lived, in Markham since 1979, and been a big, proud supporter of Markham, as well as our company's been in Markham for the past 25 years. But when March 18th hit, and a lot of our clients stayed open, such as grocery chains, Loblaws, Longo's, Sobeys, airports, they came to us and said, how can we reinvent and how can we reproduce, to create, shields, face shields, barrier guards, sneeze guards, social distancing decal stickers, and so forth. It made us an easy sense because we have all the equipment. We already print on plastic. We already have the ecosystem. As someone from Vexos was saying earlier, it's important you have that ecosystem of partnerships with your vendors. And we rely on them heavily, our supply chain, as well as, the governments, as well as our bankers. We can't forget those guys. When in need of time where we need their help, I think the big banks here in Canada really stepped up to the plate as well. And it's helped us small, mid-sized businesses. So we can't forget those guys. But so we adapted pretty quickly. And there's some big retailers and vendors out there that came to us for how fast can we get face shields in the marketplace, sneeze guards. So right away, post, March 18th, we stayed open as an essential service. We were able to produce shields, sneeze guards in large quantities to essential services. So to hospitals, to grocery chains stayed open, as well as fast food chains that stayed open. So we produced pretty quickly for those people. We have a portal that they can go online and easily order from, and it's pretty quick. We manufacture all in-house here. Nothing's through third party, and we can produce that. As now we look at the great job we've done as a government to mitigate the COVID outspread, we've been able to go to stage 2 now. And with stage 2, with the re-entry, we call it re-entry and refresh. As retailers open up, malls open up, restaurants open up, hair salons, beauty salons, and so forth, we have a package that we send out to all these groups to, how do we get you back with a proper re-entry package that is first and foremost safe for you, your employees, and your clients that come in the door. So we provide a lot of that to a lot of our clients across North America. And then the refresh to our luxury brand retailers, such as the Bay, Shoppers Drug Mart, Lord & Taylor, Nordstrom, Saks. And we're able to reinvent for them as well, and not only get the people to come back, but how do we keep it safe? So if you I could show you a lot of pictures, but if you go through our social media, social feeds, you'll see a lot of cool decks that we have out there that we're doing. And then on our media division side, which is digital signage and digital displays, we've come up with our own icon queuing system that we're about to launch. We've already launched it. We're about to open up in about 20 different retailers. It's really an automated queuing system. So, all of you guys have probably had to wait in long lines, for groceries, and, it could be hot outside, rainy outside. What we create a system is you go to the front of the store, you take your tablet, your phone, you knock it on a QR code. Now you become in this virtual lineup. You can go to your car, have a coffee. You can go, it'll say, okay, your spot is ready in 30 minutes. So the mayor can go out and grab his coffee, walk his dog, come back and say, okay, it's my spot to go in, and you're in time, all that stuff. So we're about to launch this in a few big retailers as they open up, which is we're excited about. And it also helps them, promote their brand through advertising mediums, through the phone system, through their online digital platforms and so forth. So we're excited about that. And like I said, as we see stuff reopening, we're very optimistic that the pent up demand from people being home for a long time is going to drive people out there in a safe manner, but to our retailers, to our restaurants. And that's important, as Mayor said, 10,000 small businesses in Markham alone. And it's important that, we go out there and support them in times like these, support the restaurants. I was, one of the mayor's favorite spots is probably on Markham Main Street. And I was there, 2 days ago with my wife, and we had dinner on the patio, and it was wonderful. And, it's an important time to get out there and support, because it's this whole ecosystem that we all live in here that is going to get us back on a strong rebound. And that's important for all of us. So, we're excited to what comes upon. Obviously, some of our biggest segments of our business have deteriorated a little bit over the last few months, such as transportation, the airports and the airlines, such as sports. We are a big partner of MLSC, so the Leafs, the Raptors, TFC, the Blue Jays, the Argonauts. So hopefully, slowly, we're starting to see those guys come back online too. And we are seeing some positives. So we believe that in the short term, what we're doing is to help support, our clients get back to what is the new normal. But we also see that, in the next 6 to 12 months, we're going to start seeing reopening of a larger scale of sporting events again, as well as travel. And it's important to, we're there for our clients through thick and thin, and it's important to be there and support them in any way we can. We're very optimistic that hopefully the NHL does give Markham as a hub, Toronto as a hub.
Oh, you're right, Markham
as a hub city there, but
Sorry,
we're very
might get
optimistic.
that arena after all.
Absolutely.
Oh, boy.
We would have loved that arena down the street here in downtown Markham. But we're optimistic. That would also be a really a breath of fresh air for us in our graphics. When you watch a hockey game on TV, you see the graphics in the arena, in the stadium, the board. That's all produced here at our facility in Markham. So we're very proud to be in Markham. Very proud to be a resident, both commercially and business, of Markham, and we're excited that where this goes to. And thank you for having us on, man.
Well, thank you. And I just want to say, it was great to be at your opening when you came to Markham. It was a wonderful celebration. I certainly saw it that day. And I can tell you at various community events and other gatherings, you have an employee base there that's very proud of the organization. And it's wonderful to see that pride when they talk about their company and what they're doing, and particularly the work that you've done during the response to COVID-19. I hate to say, sometimes they say you've got to deliver a message 7 times before people get it. Your visual reminders of the social distancing, the spacing, the protocols, this wonderful app that'll be wonderful to be able to facilitate customer satisfaction, really, in that they can make use of their time knowing that they've got another 20 minutes before they get into the store. These are things that I think will, one, ease the anxiety and frustration out there. And I think when we have that anxiety and frustration, that's when we're going to let our guard down. We're going to do the stupid thing. We think it's the shortcut or whatever it might be. So these are the visual reminders are an important messaging as we're out there shopping and doing what we need to do. And then if life can be made easier in dealing with the new normal, that's all going to help. So congratulations on everything that you've been able to do to transform and really, and I watched what you did. It almost happened on a dime. It really did. The turnaround to be able to be pushing out the new products was incredible to see your nimbleness as an organization to do it. And I want to say this to you as well. Thank you for your generosity, for what you've donated in terms of PPE to some of our local institutions. When you talk about that network and the fiber of the community, that extends to the most vulnerable, particularly in a time of crisis. So on behalf of the community, thank you to your whole team.
Well, thank you, Mayor. Really appreciate that. Appreciate that.
So, this is, you talk about hockey. This was our 3-star selection today is to have the three companies be our stars. And just to say, if you do want to ask a quick question, we just have just a few minutes before we wrap up. Just in the chat room, indicate that you wanted to ask a question. I think Richard will sort of say who, if anyone does have a question, again, just go to the chat and indicate there that you'd like to ask a question. I just want to say we've got lots of examples in our community, and Richard, sorry to be so bold here, but maybe on your own website, you could, in fact, just carve out a space that highlights, if you haven't already, maybe you've done this, carve out a space, not just these companies, but to actually highlight some of the companies that have played an integral role in responding to both the challenges and the opportunities during the pandemic. And there's so many of them. Last night, I was given a text, and it's very fitting because right now, Collision, one of the largest tech conferences in North America, was set to take place again in Toronto, and Markham played a large role in that last year. And so one of the companies that we featured last year was Blue Wrist. And last night, I'm getting a text saying, Blue Wrist is a partner with Canna Masks, and Canna Masks, just over here in the Toshiba building, they're producing 50,000 masks a day. And again, right here in Markham. So I think we need to kind of tell the world the way that we've all come together, made a difference, and highlight the innovation, particularly as we do in Innovation Month, to celebrate the creativity of the companies and the people that call Markham their home. So Richard, I don't know, I think
we have one question.
You do have a question. Okay, I didn't see it.
So. I'm not sure who it came from, but the question was, did any of the businesses receive support from the government any other programs like wage subsidies, rent relief, CEBA, any of those kinds of programs? I'm not sure that we know the
Why
answer to
don't,
that.
why don't we go in reverse order? Start with Alex, Sobi, and then we'll go to Wayne and Cyril.
Yeah, so we are taking advantage of the wage subsidy. It's been big for us, so it's helped us retain most of our staff and bring back our staff as it was meant to be, and to help, you know, rework our facility to help them work in the back and produce shields, counter guards, so forth. So we have definitely taken advantage of the great program that the government has put out there to support, you know, support our workers and our employees.
Sobi?
And just yeah, so before, and by the way, obviously we want to give you access to the 3 stars, as I said, but I'm happy to also answer any questions if there's any questions about the city of Markham, just as we hear the answers to this question.
From a forest perspective, we were a growing company, and we didn't qualify for the wage subsidy or any of the government fundings that was available. We got a large project that we signed off just before this whole crisis started, which was supposed to be kicked off in May. Even though one part of our business, which was offering in-class training for workplaces, took a major hit, consulting and online solutions, the system side picked up. So we didn't qualify for any of the government fundings. We sustained all of our employees. There was one employee who had to go on layoff because of childcare issues, and we eliminated actually 3 positions. So they were on layoff because of the hit that we got with the in-class training sessions. But one of the other things was we were going to do a expansion. We took extra 3,000 square feet upstairs as of April 1st. We were going to invite the mayor and the ministers and have a big gala in May. And all that pretty much came to a standstill. So we have an extra space. We didn't qualify for any of the funding, but it's kind of empty space that we are sitting with. But despite that, things are keep going, and it's been great. As I said, the community has been awesome, so we are here to support. One of the things that is coming out is a lot of online solutions. So even virtual training. Ministry of Labor was really focused on getting approval for any of the mandatory courses to do virtually. So there was about 10 providers who were able to quickly come with the solution to do, like the Joint Health and Safety Committee training, the Worker Safety Rep training. These are ministry approved training programs, especially the JCERT. We were able to get approval because that's their focus right now.
And what about our guys at Vexos?
Yeah. So just very quickly, yes, we've been just similar to Icon. We've been very fortunate that we've had access to the wage subsidy program that's helped us retain our workforce over the last couple of months. So it's been very helpful. Yeah,
That's great. I think a number of companies have taken advantage of them. And you know, being Innovation Month and being in an innovation space where our office is located, I can't tell you the number of examples of companies that are all around us in that space and have been working through this last 3 months. One of them, for example, has developed a method of doing body temperatures on mass groups of people, so that rather than holding a thermometer up to the forehead of one individual at a time, they can actually bring hundreds of people through the doors and identify whose body temperature is higher than someone else's. So the stories are really all around us in Markham, and it's really quite amazing how these stories are evolving.
Richard, if I can just interrupt and just build on what you just said, on www.business.markham.ca, we have, in celebration of Innovation Month, compiled a long list of stories, including the one that you just mentioned, Richard, and all the guests in today's panel, of companies who are doing innovative things in response to COVID and also generally. So anyone who's interested, just go to our website and you'll see a full breadth of both corporate leadership and innovation, as well as things we've been doing as a city.
And by the way, Chris, the reason I bring up the Dundas Square is that I always get people's attention when I mention that because they're amazed that it's controlled out of Markham. It is a great story. It's very cool. I want to thank all of our speakers. We're way past the time that we kind of expected, but it's all been wonderful information. So we wanted to get as much of it in as we could. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for taking your time. I know how busy you are these days and how many things you've got to deal with, both at the municipal level and in dealing with the province as well. Christina in Economic Development, thank you for partnering with us and helping us put this together. And all the staff at the Mayor's office. It's really been very helpful information to the people who have attended. I just wanted to quickly mention, Mr. Mayor, you mentioned earlier about recognizing companies that are doing things during this time. We do have a resource page that actually has a list of companies that are providing services, products to help people through this, especially if they're opening their business. The list is not just Markham, but it's actually a collaboration between all of the 9 chambers in York Region. So it goes well beyond just the borders of Markham, it covers all of York Region. We have a restaurant group support page, Facebook page, which currently has over 200 companies on it. We have a support group for companies who just are asking questions similar to those that have been asked today. It has just under 100 people, companies participating on that. And then, of course, we have our Open in Markham page, which has over 300 views a day on that one. And those are all businesses, some of which who are participating in this call today, are put up information about the products and services they offer. And of course, talks about the restaurants and the hotels and what they're able to do during this time. It's all kept up to date. It's virtually changed hourly to make sure that we can do this as accurately and as up to date as we can. All of these things put out there by the Board of Trade to try and help everyone in this difficult time and help you promote your businesses. Thank you so much for taking the time today to participate, and I wish you all the best and best of health.
Thank you, Richard. Congratulations, everyone, and stay healthy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Stay safe.
Stay safe.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.